gathered to remember an act of astonishing violence and hate, and to honor the courage of those who called upon our nation to look with open eyes at that horror and to act. The story of Emitt Till and the incredible bravery of Emitt Till Mobley helped fuel the movement for civil rights in America. And their stories continue to inspire our collective fight for justice.
Joe Biden was 12 years old when 14-year-old Emitt Till was murdered in Mississippi. The black teenager from Chicago was visiting relatives in Mississippi when he was murdered by white men who pistol-whipped him, tortured him, shot him in the face, and dumped him in a river where his body was found the next day. Today at the White House, on what would have been Emitt Till's 82nd birthday, President Biden recalled the decision Emitt Till's mother made about his funeral that forced the country to pay attention.
Insisting on an open casket for her murdered, and I might add, maimed and mutilated son. 14 years old. 14 years old. She said, let the people see what I've seen. Let the people see what I have seen. My God. All of us have lost children in other ways. How hard it is even to close the casket or keep it open.
Emitt Till's murderers were found not guilty by an all-white jury, and then, knowing they could not be tried again for the same crime because of double jeopardy, the murderers told the full story of how they committed the murder to a reporter and proudly took credit for, through that murder, they believed, keeping black people, quote, in their place. Emitt Till's mother remembered what the white children of Mississippi were being taught by the 1955 trial.
I remember the first day of the trial, every window was filled with a father and his son or sons. And as I would come up the steps, they would aim the guns at me, and they would pull the triggers, and the little caps would pop, and they would say bang, bang, bang. And the fathers, they thought this was the cutest thing. And the little guys were just firing away.
Now the little guys don't have so many toy guns, and now the little guys and girls in school in Florida and other Republican-controlled states are being protected from ever hearing a word about what happened to Emitt Till.
We know that we must remember and teach our full history, even when it is painful, especially when it is painful. Today, there are those in our nation who would prefer to erase or even rewrite the ugly parts of our past. Those who attempt to teach that enslaved people benefited from slavery. Those who insult us in an attempt to gaslight us. Who try to divide our nation with unnecessary debates.
We can't just choose to learn what we want to know. We have to learn what we should know. We should know about our country. We should know everything, the good, the bad, the truth of who we are as a nation.
Emitt Till's cousin, Wheeler Parker Jr., who was with Emitt Till on the night that he was kidnapped by his murderers, said this today at the White House.
When I sat with my family on the night of terror, when Emitt Till, our beloved Bobo, was taken from us, taken to be tortured, brutally murdered. Back then, when I was overwhelmed with terror and fear of certain death in the darkness of 1,000 midnights, in a pitch black house on what some have called Dark Fear Road. Back then in the darkness, I could never imagine a moment like this, standing in the light of wisdom, grace, and deliverance,
Joining us now is the award-winning poet and author Caroline Randall Williams. She is the writer in residence at Vanderbilt University and president of the Southern Equity Collective. Caroline, thank you very much for joining us tonight. What are your thoughts on what would be today the 82nd birthday of Emitt Till?
Well, I'll start by saying that Emitt Till, I was born 32 years to the day after Emitt Till whistled at Carolyn Bryant on August 24th, 1955. And I've always sort of been hyper conscious of that realization that what was the world remembering in this moment that I was brought here. I'm thinking so much about collective memory, and I'm thinking about the importance of monuments, which I've written about in the past. And you know, the word monument, it comes from the classical root word monere, which means to advise or to warn. And I'm thinking about what those men were doing when they took a 14-year-old boy out of his bed at night, and what kind of warning they were trying to give, what kind of advice they were trying to give the American community. And I'm thinking about how we must continue to be advised about the past in this moment when so much of it is being suppressed. We have to continue to be warned about the past. We have to keep a record of what's happened here. You know, Black people in the South, they didn't want us to go to school because they knew that education was a path to freedom and to change. They lost that battle, thank God. But now they don't want education to include our stories, which is, in some ways, a more frightening form of erasure, because the denial of what happens is dangerous, and it is a regression. We know well that denying the abject, massive scale tragedy of what happened in the ghettos and cattle cars and toxic chambers of Germany and Poland in the 1930s and 40s, in living memory, in Emitt Till's would-be living memory, is ugly and dangerous for democracy and humanity. Denying the abject, massive scale tragedy of what happened in the bellies of Middle Passage boats and the fields and farms and lynching trees of the southern United States in the middle of the last century, it is, in my opinion, just as ugly and dangerous to democracy and humanity. Forgetting is violence. Erasure is a willful, forced act of forgetting. It is a violence against memory itself and decency. Lawrence, I lived in Greenwood, Mississippi for 2 years after college. You turned right down the street where I lived. I lived on Grand Boulevard, very fancy, fine street. You cross over the Tallahatchie River, and Grand Boulevard turns into Money Road. I took a drive down Money Road, not knowing what it was, when I was 22 years old. And I came across this ruin. It looked almost whimsical. There was no marker there, no monument, unless the absence of a monument is one. And you know what it said on that building? It said Bryant's Grocery Store. I know enough history to know what that building was, and when I realized it, I took a step back. I threw up where I stood. I never went back there. But I did drive down Emitt Till Memorial Highway every single day on my way to teach school in the Mississippi Delta for 2 years. And that highway was just this minor marker, with bullet holes in it from hateful people who wanted to erase his memory, who couldn't stand to face it. But preserving essential American memories in the face of that kind of energy, in the face of that kind of hate, that is a radical act of freedom and democracy. And, you know, Emitt Till knew it best. In the United States, Black bodies, we have been commerce, we have been contraband, we have been a commodity, but we are most importantly an American story. We are monuments, we are living documents. And Emitt Till left her son's coffin open because she knew that there was an American story written there. And you know, they can write us out of the textbooks all they want, but until they stop writing injustice on our bodies, we will remain a living and unsilenceable record.
The Bryant store that you saw is the place where Emitt Till had an encounter in the store with a white woman who then later made accusations about him that sent those men out to go find him and murder him. That there will be a monument there now. That's what they were announcing today at the White House. Monuments in Mississippi and Chicago commemorating Emitt Till and his mother. And so when another 22-year-old college kid is moving down the road in Mississippi, there's going to be some very clear indicators of what happened there.
Thank God. We have to be able to know our past in order to look to a different kind of future. And these buildings are standing, living memories. If they don't let us teach it, people can see with their own two eyes what is there.
Caroline Randall Williams, thank you very much for joining us again tonight. We always learn as you speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Coming